Welcome everyone to episode 77 of Missing Pieces. My name is Greg, and this is where I sit down and I discuss my life, Lego, and anything else that's on my mind. And this week is a perfect example because we're going to have some YouTube discussion regarding my channels. Of course, we have some Lego talk. I've got some gaming things to cover. And last but not least, I have an update on my attempts to shed some winter weight that I've put on over the last several winters and my attempt to get like a 75 pack by June. If any of those things are interesting to you, stay tuned because we'll be discussing them all, starting with the YouTube stuff. I had some issues here with Missing Pieces the last few weeks, and I'm a little angry with YouTube because you guys know, I think I've mentioned this many times, I don't like to put ads on these videos. I have an ad that runs before you start, but I don't like the interrupting ads that, I might be in the middle of talking about something, all of a sudden an ad for whatever plays. I don't like that. I don't need the money that much to interrupt your listening experience. So I always turn those off. Always. I never have ads in the middle of these videos. But the last 2 weeks, like 5 hours after the video's been out and people have watched it, I get a message on Discord from patrons and they're like, hey, there's ads in the middle of your video. And I'm like, no. So last week I was like, okay, maybe I made a mistake. Or the week before last, I turned it off. I was like, okay, no problem. But last week, this very last episode, episode 76, that one I specifically remember clicking the thing to not have ads in the video. I don't want to have ads in the middle. And I get a message again. It says, hey, there's ads in your video. So I go and check it out. And lo and behold, there are 14 ad breaks in my 45-minute Missing Pieces episode. And I'm just like so upset because I feel like people are probably thinking I'm like the most greedy person of all time. It's like, dude, you literally have an ad break every 3 minutes in your episode. And a lot of them, they told me, were unskippable. And just imagine what kind of terrible listening experience that was. And I can tell you, and I tell you with certainty in case it happens in this episode, it's YouTube that's doing that. I don't want that on my channel. I should probably just turn ads off entirely because these episodes, they make like $5 maybe on a good week. And it's like, is it even worth it? That's something you have to question, which is why I always shout out the patrons in these videos, because it's like, you know what, with this patron money that's coming in, I can afford to make a video that doesn't make any money. Speaking of that, why don't we just get it out of the way right now? We'll give some shout outs to Dave and Caleb. Thank you guys for joining us on Patreon and making this hopefully interruption free. Who knows though? But that really frustrated me. And I'm just thinking like YouTube from like a business standpoint, like they use their AI or whatever they do to put ads in these videos. Okay. And that's fine if you want to do that automatically. But do you really think that it makes for a good viewing experience when you have 14 ad breaks in a video? Do you think that's going to make someone want to stick around and be on YouTube to watch another video or to even watch that one? I don't think so. Maybe some of you guys have ad block, or maybe you're immune to ads. Maybe you're just so used to being on the internet and ads pummeling you that it's not a problem, but for me it is. So I'm going to tell me right away, if someone is watching this after it just comes out at noon on Sunday, please tell me if there's ads on it. Like, let that be your comment because I will fix it immediately. I go through and just casually check the ads. I check the comments, but it was like hours later, and that was the most frustrating thing. So if you had a bad experience last week with Missing Pieces, I'm sorry about that. If you'd like to avoid YouTube altogether, I don't blame you. This is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. I don't make any money through those. I don't have sponsorships, ads, nothing on those. YouTube's just that one place where I have like the one that plays beforehand because it's like, yeah, it's fairly harmless, but it's actually very harmful. So stay tuned for that. I'll have some updates on that. And hopefully next week we don't have any issues. Speaking of issues, last week, no issues with the audio. The week before, halfway through, like at 26 minutes, my audio just was turned into a pile of garbage. We're all good last week. I don't know if it's happening right now. I see levels looking good, but if this sounds awful, I'm going to be devastated. And yeah, that's I just hope for the best. That's about all we can do in life, I suppose. So I just wanted to talk about that in relation to you directly through listening to this. But there's another thing that happened on YouTube this week, and that thing was I got a copyright strike. Not on this channel, but on brickitect Live. There was an episode of a show that I love doing called Good Morning Brickitectors, which is sort of what this is, basically. It was with a live audience that I did in like 2018. It was like May of 2018, episode 2. And I thought it'd be a cool thing. I didn't have a camera on or anything. It was like an audio experience. I thought it'd be cool for this video to have this video that I found of the sun rising over the beach, and you can hear like the waves crashing, and like the sun was rising as I'd be speaking. So when you're 30 minutes in the episode, the sun's much higher than it was, and it was just like a really nice experience. I did steal that video from another YouTube video, but I felt like it was fairly harmless, even though technically it's not. And here 3 years later, it finally caught up to me because whoever owned that video put a strikeout on me. And it wasn't like the aggressive one, which gives you a strike instantly. It was one of those situations where you have 7 days to remove the video. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, rightfully, that wasn't my sunrise to film. I should have went outside my house and filmed a sunrise while I spoke. I could have done that. But I love the beach atmosphere. So good morning, Brickitectors, episode 2 is no more. I did download the video before I deleted it, just so I have it, because I was talking about life at the time and our plans and Clark Man and all these things. It was like a little bit of a journal entry, if you will. And it seemed like a shame to remove it. And it seems like a shame, like someone would even have like an issue with that. Like I wasn't just straight up stealing his work. I like transformed it technically, but I did use his visuals and his audio throughout the entire video. And I'm assuming that it was one of those things where he just saw someone using it and deleted it. He probably listened to it and just like realized what I was doing with it. I don't think that he probably would have had an issue with it, especially considering probably no one has watched that video in the last 2+ years. So, because it's way down in the catalog on my live channel. But nonetheless, that was an interesting thing. That only ever happened to me once before. And I won't say who the Lego YouTuber is that did this, because I think they'd be very embarrassed by it. But I hosted a contest a long time ago, and I won't say which one it is, but it was to make a mock. And I took the top 10 people, and I showed them in a video where you could vote on your favorite one. So I was giving like recognition to these people and like really like saying like you did an amazing job. And one of those people in that video, and this is a person that's fairly successful on YouTube these days, he put a copyright strike on that video like months later. And I was just like, dude, like I was doing nothing but promoting you and like congratulating you. I wasn't trying to steal your work. I was just showcasing it so you could win. And to make it even worse, this person did win, and I sent them a Lego set that I paid for and paid to mail to them, and they gave me a copyright strike. It turned out though, like eventually I think that got removed. Maybe they realized it was a mistake or something, but I was just really taken back by that. I'm like, man, it's kind of wild, isn't it? Like you go out of your way to help somebody, they win a contest, all this stuff, and then you straight up hit them with a... Actually, you know what? It wasn't the top 10 video. It was the video where I was showcasing that he won. And I took the video down, but it's like, holy moly, dude, like... Chill with the ad stuff. I will say this: if anybody wants to use my videos in a fun way, as long as you're not being rude or expletive or whatever, you can use my videos for whatever you want. I don't care. You know, just put a link to my channel down below, so when you blow up, we can blow up together, right? Like that's fine. But I don't really like it when people use it in a way that, and this hasn't really happened where people are being nasty or mean, because that wouldn't be cool, and I don't think anyone would appreciate that. But for the vast majority of people in the Lego community, are awesome peeps, and I'm happy to work with you in any way. So I'll put that out there. Now I open up the floodgates, everyone's going to be like spamming me with stuff, but I just thought I would say that. So I just, the copyright strike thing, and my thoughts on it is that, unlike the ad thing, I turned those off. This I was completely guilty of. I stole the man's work. Shouldn't have done that, looking back on it now. And I deserve what I got, even though it happened 3 years later. I was happy to use that sunrise. So I'm going to make it a goal, I guess, this summer, or maybe even this spring. I'll go out and I'm just going to go to cool locations around us. I'll film a sunrise, and then I'll come back home and I'll do like a little morning video for you guys that we can talk about things like that. Speaking of things like that, I tried an experiment this week where I was considering bringing back... I almost said Good Morning Brickitectors, because that's on my mind now. No, Breaking It Down. Previously a series that I used to do where I would film myself tearing apart Lego sets, because we're building all the time. I don't display these things, and I was breaking them down. And I thought it would be cool to do a Q&A series where I answer your questions while I do that. And it was fun for a while. I don't know what got me out of doing it, but I considered this week, and I think I might have talked about this last week, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to bring that back, but just as a live thing, where it's almost like Missing Pieces, but it's live, and you guys could ask me questions and pummel me with stuff as we're streaming, and make it like a 30-minute or hour-long thing, and just try it out and see how that goes. So I did this completely unplanned, at least on your end, where at like 12:15 on Wednesday, I was like, hey, at 1 o'clock I'm going to be doing this Q&A thing, and I did it, and I thought it turned out pretty good, at least from a presentation standpoint. I think if you go back and listen to that, and if you love Missing Pieces, you'll probably really enjoy listening to I think it's almost an hour long of me just kind of answering random questions. But I will say one thing, and I talked to my patrons on Discord about this. I think if we do this going forward, which I'm still kind of on the fence on, I'd like to hear your feedback. There wasn't a whole lot of comments on it after it was already live, so I don't know like what the general feeling was on that episode in terms of like, is this something you'd like to see more of? I probably could have asked that in the episode. Or is it like, would you rather go back to just like a really constrained like 10-minute video of me like showing like a set getting torn down in like a cool way? I've said cool way too many times this episode, in a very fascinating way, while answering questions that I've pre-selected and then answer in like a very concise manner. Or is it more fun to have the free-flowing live stream where people can ask questions and then I do it for a longer period of time, and it's not so tight in terms of being an episode? I'm kind of split on it. I could do it either way. I did see like a lot of the patrons were saying what we should do is have like a Google Doc open, because they're also moderators on there. And while I'm answering like initial questions, they can pull really good questions from the chat and then put them on that doc, and then I could see the highlights basically and then answer those. Because one thing that devastated me, I guess this has been like a week of devastating things, at least in terms of YouTube. I would find myself like answering like kind of just like I don't know, I don't want to insult anyone with this, but you know, there's a level of questions that I would really love to hit that's up here, right? Like at the very top, level 10 would be what's the meaning of life, okay? We're obviously not going to get there. But like level 1 is like, what's your favorite Lego set? I don't want to be anywhere near level 1. I'd rather be closer to 10 than 1. And a lot of the questions I was getting was like level 1, level 2, like what's your favorite set? What's your favorite theme? Are you going to buy this set? Oh, thoughts on Just Too Good's face reveal. That's actually a decent one. But if I wasn't very good at taking a one-word answer and making a 3 to 5 minute response on it, the show would have been a complete failure. And I know it's because I have a younger audience, and that's kind of where they're at. They really do want to know what my favorite set is. They really do want to know if I'm buying a set. They do want to know my thoughts on certain leaks and things like that. And that's totally fine. But I love stuff like this. And if you're listening to this podcast, you love stuff like this too. And if I were to do a pre-recorded missing pieces, if I were to do a pre-recorded breaking it down, I could take 100 questions and find those 10 good questions that are in there that really like speak to my soul, and then show like some epic stuff happening while I'm answering those, right? Or just like, I could just pre-record myself building a set and answer them that way too. So it seems kind of like fluid and flawless. Or we could do the route where it is live and I have moderators take good questions, because I was so frustrated when I answered this like, I'm not going to say that it wasn't up to where I would really love to be. And I don't think there's any harm in saying that, because in my stance, I think being honest is the best thing I can be. I'm not going to say that your questions suck or whatever, because they don't. Every question is a good question. It just depends on like if the person that's answering those questions finds it engaging. And that's really where I came from on this. I was like, I'm only going to make this a series if I really enjoy it. It doesn't really matter if you love it or don't love it, because the audience will find you that likes your content. You should never cater to the people that are there right now, because especially in the Lego space, those people aren't going to be the people that are there in 2 years. There's such a high turnover in this world, because kids are into Lego for a bit and then they get out of it. Adults, maybe more, they stick with it longer, but just like anything in YouTube, you watch a video for a bit, you kind of get burnt out on it, you leave it for a while, maybe you come back later, maybe you don't, maybe you find something else. It's hard to maintain an actual audience in YouTube. So my philosophy has always been to make what I really want to make. And if the people that subscribed to you long ago, like say, I'll make it very simple. Say you were just a speed building channel a long time ago and people loved your speed builds and that's what they're there for. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't really like doing that. I like doing unboxings now. A lot of your speed build people are going to be like, I'm out. This isn't for me. I don't love this. But if you love doing unboxings, that audience that loves watching unboxings will find you. It's going to be a bit of a transition. It's going to be hard. And I know I'm going to be kind of finding this for myself as Clarkman goes to school and the content changes here, as the brickitect renaissance happens, at least in my opinion. I think this is going to be a very positive thing, but I think a lot of the younger audience that's here just to see Clarkman like be goofy and stuff, that audience is going to be a little disappointed, I think, going forward, and that's fine. Maybe I'm sure you could find something else that's engaging on YouTube. It's a big place. But back to what I was saying, as I weave all around this, I answered a question, and then when I went back and looked through the chat, just to see like what the question quality was like, there was a question several of them that I really would have loved to answer that I completely missed because I was in the middle of talking about one that was like a level 2, and this was like a level 6. So the only way I can do it live is if I do have people helping me find those questions. It's so hard when you have tons of people chatting and you're going through, and just at that one moment that you finish a statement, you look at the chat and you scan that little section of something that's been going on forever to find that spot where you're like, yeah, it's the question, without having a lot of dead air. That's hard to do. So for that reason, I'm inclined to make it like a pre-recorded thing that's 10 minutes long. I think in terms of YouTube, more people would be interested in watching a shorter form of that, because sitting down for an hour it's hard to do on YouTube. That's not what people are here for. Twitch, completely different story over there. That's what people are there for, and that's like the live streaming world. But we'll experiment with this. We'll see how it goes. I'm loving the idea of doing it Wednesday. I saw a lot of people were down with that idea because it's almost like a midweek check-in, and it's kind of fun because it's like a midweek missing pieces, but it's interactive. If I had this live right now, I would be so distracted by the chat and it would get me way off topic. So that's why I don't do it that way. Plus, it's nice to be able to, like, if I say something completely dumb or I get sidetracked or something happens, I could always edit this. I try not to, though. This is as real as it gets, I suppose, and I think people appreciate that. At least I hope so. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, get your thoughts on that. I found that last week, and we'll talk about this here in a minute, when I asked you guys for your opinion on something in particular, you're very good at giving it to me, and I really appreciate that, especially with feedback on things that I'm trying and experimenting with. But we'll let the numbers and let the numbers speak for themselves and let my feelings kind of feel my way out on this. Maybe if we do another episode and it's the same, but maybe we do moderation, that would work. Or if you guys would just prefer like a 10-minute video or 15 or I don't know, 5-minute video of me just answering questions, that's fine. Maybe if a question is good enough, like we get to level 8, maybe that just becomes its own video. Because I love these things on YouTube that are almost like podcast highlights, where out of an hour-long episode, they cover like like 6 minutes of a certain thing. I love that. Because I have time for that. I don't have time for an hour-long episode. You probably don't. But 6 minutes of answering a question, maybe with something fun happening on screen where I'm building something, or it's like a time lapse, I think would be like the pinnacle. And I have this dream to become like a Lego commentator, or more of that, I guess, because I feel 2 different ways in this. I feel like I have a skill for this right now, what we're doing, but I also feel like I could really improve at it a lot too, and I like to get better at it. So the only way you can really improve at things is to practice, and if I could become a commentator and people really came to respect my opinion on things, even though I may not be the most like knowledgeable or technical savvy, I can surely express my opinions in a passionate way. I think I can do that, which kind of takes me to my next topic. I want to talk about sharing the Lego experience. We're talking about passion here and sharing something more than just facts. And I made a video this week that was Clark and I building a Ninjago set, and it wasn't a review, it was an experience, and that's what I really wanted to like put into the title, because you could have like a really concise review and an opinion of something, and I think that's great, and I think there's value in that. Or you could bring someone along with you through the entire experience of building a set, kind of like chopped up a little bit, but like the highlights, the funny moments, the interaction that you have, like when it's 2 people building, that's a lot easier than just one, when you're sitting there talking to yourself or the people in your head. But Clark and I building a set together, I think is something I would love to do more of like that, where it's not a live stream, but it's like if you were to take a live stream and chop it into like the highlights. I like that. I think it's cool. I didn't say that. I think it's something that could be memorable, and that's the kind of stuff that I like to capture going forward too. So it's a little something. I'm thinking like when Clark gets home from school, which, speaking of, this is his last full week of school. He has this week, Monday and Tuesday, spring break, then he goes to school full time, and that's when this channel morphs quite a bit. But when he gets home from school, we can do those little videos where we're just like chilling at the coffee table behind me. I'm sitting on one side, he's on the other. We have the camera parked kind of in between us, and it's almost like we're just vibing back and forth. And there's no better vibe that you get than with your family. So I want to experiment with that. Not the most popular video that I've ever made when I uploaded it, because it's not what most people want, but it's what the people want that matter the most to me. It's what they want to see. They want to see that interaction and like just an authentic Lego experience. And I'm happy to share it. So that's another little something in the Lego world. There's 2 other things that I want to discuss. We'll get the easy one out of the way first. I was going to talk about my top 3 most wanted Lego sets. This is level 1, right? Level 1 is the 3 sets that I want are the Spring Lantern Festival, I think is what it's called. I got that this week. Before I got it, I made this topic list on my computer, and I was like, I'd like to talk about this because it seemed like I was never going to get these sets because they've been out of stock forever. And I want to tell you about a mistake that I made too. Spring Lantern Festival finally came in stock one day. Dave told me about it. I just casually mentioned it, and I was like, hey, if anybody see this set in stock, let me know, because I haven't seen it for months. Came in stock, I bought it, got the extra promos that came with it too, so I was happy about that. But there's 2 other sets that I messed up on. My 2 most wanted Lego sets for all you level 1 people that are out there. I know you guys are like level 40 right now. I want the bouquet of flowers, and I want the bonsai tree. You're like, Greg, I know you're weird. I know it. I know those are the sets you want. I want the Carnage helmet too. I already have that ordered. But these 2 sets, they've been out of stock forever as well. And there was one day where they were, I think the one was in stock, the bonsai was in stock, and the flower had a back order on it. And I looked at it, had it in my cart, and I was like, I should do this, but what's Lego's promos going to be next month or the next month after that? Maybe I should wait. And I pondered it throughout the day, and then I made the decision like, okay, I should buy these things. So I went back, both out of stock again. So I done messed up. And I'm learning more and more with Lego, at least in these days and times with, I guess, COVID happening and like people finding this new love of Lego and all buying online for the most part. If you want something, you got to do it. Just take the promo that they have, even if it's your 3rd one, in my case. Just get it now because you don't know if it's going to happen again. So I'll say this. If anybody ever sees the bouquet or the bonsai tree come in stock, find a way to get a hold of me because I don't check it all the time. I should probably do like the wish list thing or notify me. But from what I heard, that takes some time. So if you guys ever see it, those are my 2 most wanted sets. The bonsai tree and the bouquet of flowers. I think they look nice in the studio here. Better than like having a bunch of Overwatch sets sitting around that I still haven't torn apart yet. It'd be like peaceful and calming, and I'm excited about those. So we'll see what we can pull off there. And hopefully one day I actually have them. But that takes us to our final Lego topic of the day. And most of you guys can all leave after this, I suppose, unless you want to stick around for the good stuff. I want to talk about the concept of a low payout set. I made a video yesterday, which would have been 2 days for you. They got people a little upset because I knew what I was doing when I made the title. It was titled Making the Decision to Quit Lego, and then the thumbnail said I quit Lego. It got a lot of people worried, apparently, and it's all in good fun. At least I hope so. Some people were triggered by it, which is fine. But you're on YouTube. You should be used to kind of clickbaity stuff. And was it clickbait? The title was Making the Decision to Quit Lego, and I did quit a Lego set in there. I could have put the word set in there, but it's not as dramatic. But I had fun with it, and if you guys, I talked about this a few weeks ago. If you guys want to know why you get clickbaited on YouTube, it's because of that. That video did like 4 times better than any other video I did, but it's also because it kind of catered to the 2 other things that people in the Lego community love, and that is negativity, which is sort of like I'm quitting Lego, so obviously there's a reason it's a negative one. Drama, which that sort of is drama too because you're quitting, and it's kind of like a news type thing. Although it's not Lego news, it's like news for me. So if you can do something that falls into those 3 categories, and I should make like a Venn diagram of this, it'd be hilarious. Don't steal my idea. Negative. So if you could put why I love this Lego set, that's going to get some views. Why I hate this Lego set, it's going to get way more views than that because people love negativity. So negativity is number 1. Drama. Any kind of like bad thing that happened either with someone in the community or something with Lego or like yourself or like stirring things up, that does really well too. And 3 is news. So if you can do dramatic negative news, you have a recipe for success. In saying that though, I said last week that you draw in the audience that you deserve. So if you do a lot of crap like that, you're going to get those type of people that appreciate negativity, and you don't necessarily want them. So you can take the easy win on that, but it's going to come at a cost. I think I'm much better off just doing my normal stuff, and I don't know if I would do the title again if I look back on it, the one that I did about quitting Lego. But I thought it was more funny than anything because I lured you in with that. But then hopefully, like the idea behind clickbait is that you watch a video that isn't what was promised, and the video isn't good. And in my case, I felt like the video I made was good. I explained like why I gave up on a set, why you maybe maybe you should, or if I asked if people have. Like the rationale behind it I thought was good, and then the process of us tearing it down was fun, boxing it up, and it became like a whole little story. And in that story, and this kind of takes us to our final topic, it wasn't the clickbait thing. It was this. It was the concept of a low payout set, especially with younger kids. And I know the parents that are still listening to this because you made it this far in, there's high payout sets and there's low payout sets. High payout sets are sets that are like not many pieces, vehicles, minifigs. That's a high payout set. Lego City falls into that. Ninjago, some Star Wars sets. They're high payout sets. Low payout sets. The Bugatti, like Technic sets, low payout sets. Modulars, low payout sets. Buildings, low payout sets. There's sets where maybe you get a minifig here and there, but there's bags and bags of just building onto something. And when you have younger kids, those low payout sets, they don't do well. And I found that out with Sesame Street. Like Clark didn't have a huge connection to the source material, and I knew that going in. I didn't either. I knew that going in. I love the minifigs. I knew that going in. I thought maybe he would be interested in building it, but it turned out he wasn't. In fact, like when we like kind of wrapped up our live streaming efforts in the mornings, that was the set that we quit on. Like he was more interested in drawing on the iPad, making designs and stuff on there than he was building that set. And that's when I realized like why continue this? And I saw this same concept in the world of books. Last night I watched a YouTube video that they recommended to me that wasn't clickbait about why you should quit reading books. Not in general, just why you should quit reading a book if you're not enjoying something. There's no reason to continue doing it. Just like, why punish yourself? The same thing goes for movies or whatever. It's a sunk cost. If you build 2 bags of a 6-bag set and you're like, well, I might as well build the rest of it, or better yet, in a movie, especially one maybe you didn't pay for, you're just streaming, and you're like, well, I'm 45 minutes into this 2-hour movie. I've already had this invested. Don't think about that. It's a sunk cost. You can't get that back. There's no reason to even think about it. If you're not enjoying yourself and you don't see this redeeming itself, leave now. Save that extra. What you lost is it means nothing. What you're gaining means something. So for that reason, I felt no issues with quitting that set. Sent it to Builders. He's going to put it in his city, enjoy it. And when he gets the Winnie the Pooh set, he said he would send us the minifigs from that. So I'm getting the things that I want, which is minifigs, which I know is a dangerous path to go down, but it's my favorite part of Lego collecting right now. And there's going to be some other things too, including getting more into the creative side of Lego, and also just conversing about Lego. And I'm excited about all these things. Commentary. Again, the brickitect Renaissance is coming probably 2 weeks from now, probably after spring break. When Clark goes to school, I'm literally going to have, beyond cleaning this place up, I have an entire day to do whatever I want with my time. From like 8:30 to 3, we'll say. I don't know what the exact school times are. What can I possibly do with that time? And I'm excited to find out what that is. And I encourage you to come along with me on that journey if that's something you're interested in, which hopefully you are. I bet you are. I'm betting you are. Anyways, that concludes my ability to speak and the Lego discussion. So if you would like to bail now, you're welcome to do that. But if you'd like to stick with us, I'm glad to have you. Let's talk about a little bit of gaming stuff. I've been trying to become a god at Fortnite. Actually, no. This is where I should cut, but I'm not going to. I've been trying to become a god at Warzone. It's a game that really calls out to me. I love the style of it. I love the gameplay, the sound, like everything about it I love, except for the extreme level of competition that it's in that game with all of the masters that I seem to go against. And it's been a frustrating experience playing that game and just getting walloped over and over again. And it's one of those things where you really have to invest an incredible amount of time into the game to even start making like a little bit of leeway into becoming somewhat decent at it, where you can get a couple kills and stuff. And there's people that do it really well, and I love watching that. As of this point, I'm not there yet. So I was getting frustrated with it, and I was like, okay, let's step away from this, and let me play the game that really got me interested in the Battle Royale system, the OG, if you will, and that was PUBG. So I went into PUBG this week, and I was just playing around being funny because I have this arcade stick, and I was trying to play it with an arcade stick and buttons like you would see on an arcade. And I ended up like just walking around, and it was funny, and I was like, let me actually try playing this, because one of my teammates came over to pick me up. It was just a random. Got into his car, and we ended up like actually playing at that point. I grabbed my controller, and at the end, I was the last guy left against one other guy. He ended up killing me on this bridge, but that was only because I didn't know how to like zoom down my scope or my sights, because you have to tap the L2 as opposed to hold it in. But I think if I had known how to do that, I may have actually won that game, and it was just such a refreshing experience going from something where, had I done anything like that in Warzone, I would have been killed within like the first second, probably, as soon as someone saw me. and just in general, killed within the first second. PUBG though, I have a lot of opportunities, and it's like, wow, that was actually a lot of fun because the competition isn't so hard. The game's janky as all heck. It's not as refined. It's third person, although I think you can play in first person, and there's some problems with it. But I had more fun playing it, so that accounts for something. And I'll update you on that. I played a little bit beyond that with Ronnie. We didn't do fantastic in it, but it was still fun. Speaking of having fun this week in video gaming, I came back to Fortnite. I quit Fortnite 3 months ago or so because the new season, or last season, I felt like sucked. I had no reason to play it, and I realized the only reason I loved the Marvel season of Fortnite was because I was really enjoying the quest to unlock the skins, and I was trying to get to level 100 so I can get the Iron Man skin. And that's really what drew me in. This next season, though, there wasn't really any of that. The map I felt sucked. The weapons weren't as good as the previous season. So I'm like, I'm out on this. Even after buying the Battle Pass, I was out. This season started, the newest season started this week, and everyone was asking about it. So I was like, okay. Night it came out, I downloaded the update, got in, played with some patrons, and they dominated. It wasn't me, it was these guys. We had 3 games, 3 wins in a row, and that's how we wrapped up that night. And I actually had fun with it. And I find that the most fun that you can have with these games is actually sharing that experience with other people. That's what makes things fun. And I was having a good time, and I guess maybe I might be coming back to Fortnite, although it seems very complicated these days. It keeps getting more and more complicated. And I watch people that play it, and they're very good at it, and I can't build anything, so that's something. And the main reason I want to get out of Fortnite into like a single style game like Warzone, which is like there's no building and strategy with that. It's just like managing like which weapons you have and where you're at, and then shooting people. It seemed easier. PUBG even easier than that. That's literally just probably the simplest of the bunch. But I might be coming back to Fortnite here and there and trying it out. I stream on Twitch if you guys like to go over there and hang out with us. While we stream live, it's brickitect. I also have a YouTube channel where I put the highlights up if you just want to do that. It's linked down below if you're interested. If that's not your thing, I totally get it. Last thing regarding entertainment. Talk about Snyder Cut, Justice League, and the Falcon Winter Soldier. Haven't watched either of those yet. Not overly excited to do either of those, although I've been hearing good things about the Snyder Cut, so I'll probably watch that. Falcon Winter Soldier, I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything because it's going to offend the Marvel detectors, but it's like, if we're talking levels again, with like Iron Man being level 10, for me, Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's like down to like a level 2 or 3. Like you've already expended all of the A list, and now you're at like the D list. But it's free to watch on Disney Plus, so maybe it's worth a watch, and maybe I will, and I'll report back to you. I haven't heard anyone really talking about it because it seemed like the Snyder Cut took precedence over that with all of my friends at least. So we'll see how that goes. Last thing I want to update you guys on, though, as this episode tends to go a little long here. We haven't even been into listener feedback yet. I want to update you on my weight loss journey, which you may be thinking, Greg, you don't need to lose any weight. Look at you. Yeah, I do, actually. I'm definitely over my fighting weight. I wanted to lose about 19 pounds before like middle of June, towards end of June, because that's when we're going on vacation to the beach. We actually scheduled it last week. We're going to Outer Banks, North Carolina again. Finally, we missed last year, so we did go in 2019. If you'd like to see those vlogs, they're up on Greg's World. You have to go back pretty far to see them. But it was a great time. We're going to the same place again with some friends. It's going to be great. And they're actually here in the LEGO community. And I don't want to go there as a fatso. I want to be proud. If I take my shirt off, I want to be like, hey, that's not that overweight dude that just makes LEGO videos all the time. And not that there's anything wrong with that. And if you're overweight, I'm not downing you at all. That's not a problem. My only hope in sharing this, and the reason I'm sharing this, is because you never know what's going to connect with people. And I got a few messages this last week, and one from a patron that said this was the thing that I connected with. And you never know what that thing's going to be. Like, I could sit here and talk about Lego all day, and maybe that's fine. But like the other topics that we go into, and the things that I'm considering and pondering and trying and struggling with in some cases, or like about to embark on, like a weight loss thing, that could be the thing that maybe it's your thing, and you're like, this is something I've struggled with, or that I'm going to try, and I'm going to do it with you, Greg. So I'm going to give you my results after this week. I am down 2.6 pounds. And you're probably wondering, how'd you do it, Greg? How'd you lose 2.6 pounds? And it mainly has come down to just having a calorie deficit. I've been really like looking at what I'm eating, and it's like, okay, let's try this thing. A lot of the guys in not a lot of the guys, a few of the guys in the Patreon Discord thing, they're doing like intermittent fasting, they're doing keto, they're watching their carbs, and I'm like, okay, let me try that a little bit, not to the extreme. Like I'm still having carbs, but I'm like, okay, let's cut out breakfast, and for lunch, let's have like a salad. Let's have some V8. Let's do that. Let's not have like a sandwich and like chips or whatever. And I know a lot of my weight gain over the last couple years, because this hasn't just happened overnight. Like gaining 19 pounds, it's not like that, and losing it's not just like that. But what happens is when you have a kid and they eat all the time, like Clark eats every couple hours. He's a little machine that's burning energy. I'll get him something to eat, and I'm like, okay, I'll eat too. So we'll eat together. And then we eat, and then he has leftover things on his plate. I'm like, okay, I'll just eat that real quick. I eat that. And then that's overconsumption. So it's overconsumption over time, taking in excess calories that eventually leads you to a place where you're considered overweight. And I wouldn't really notice it too much, but I notice my clothes aren't fitting the way that I want them to. And I'm like, man, these jeans, they fit me last year. These jeans don't fit me anymore. So that's the main reason I want to do this. And I haven't really done any exercise thus far. I spend way too much time making videos, which is going to change too when Clark goes to school. I'm not going to be doing 20-minute vlogs every single day that take me a couple hours to edit. I'm going to have time to maybe go for a walk when I drop him off. Or when I pick him up, we can go for a walk. Or I can go for a run or bike on the bike path. Take Roxy with me. I want to do all of these things. And that's going to help out a lot. But this first week, simply all I've done is made sure I'm not taking in an excessive number of calories every day. I've quit doing the fast food thing. The worst thing I ate this week was pizza, which I made last night. We did a Patreon live stream where I actually made my own pizza. We ate it and had a great time. It was probably our best stream that we've done, at least in terms of fun for me. And it wasn't really regarding Lego, which is, it's cool that they're there for that. But I just been watching it. Dinners, we're eating like a healthy, lean protein, some vegetables, maybe some potatoes, things like that. And it's worked. I mean, 2.6 pounds towards my 19-pound goal is pretty darn good. And if I know that maybe isn't going to continue forever, but even if you talk about 1 pound a week, I don't know how many weeks I have. So we have let's just say I have March to April, to middle of April, to middle of May, to middle of June. I've got 3 months, 90 days. So what's that, like 12 weeks or something like that? I'm going to have to do a little more than a pound if I want to get to my goal, but I think I can do this, especially once you mix in starting to exercise and the weather gets better and we're doing a lot more outdoor stuff as opposed to sitting inside. I think that's going to make a big difference, and I just made the decision that I'm going to update you guys every single week to keep me accountable and maybe to keep you accountable too, and I encourage you to do this. I'm not telling you need to make any changes in your life at all, but just know that I'm trying to do something, and if I can do it, it's just me, you surely can do it too. And if you're feeling the same way, like you went to put on your jeans and you're like, dang, these are way tighter after that quarantine weight, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can make it a thing. I don't have the guts yet to I should probably and maybe I'll do this when Clark goes to school. I don't really want to put this out to the world, but I was thinking about showing the scale, showing the things I'm doing, showing what I'm eating, making it I don't really want to have a fitness channel because I'm definitely not qualified for that. But I was thinking about doing a thing where I start doing strength training as well, but doing a thing where I do 100 sit-ups every day, 100 push-ups every day, and bringing you along with me on that as well, and just to be accountable. But I don't know if I want to document that every day. But the reason I'd want to do it isn't for me. I'd want to do it for somebody out there that's like, dang, if this loser Lego YouTuber guy can do this, I can do this no problem. And I want to encourage you to do that. That's one of my biggest things about this podcast, is to try to encourage other people to do positive things with their life, regardless of what that is, right? Weight loss, making a YouTube channel, striving towards your goals, trying to get the job you want, finishing school, establishing friendships, whatever it is. I want the best for you. And I don't always have the answers, but I can tell you what I'm doing, what I've done, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and you can make your own decisions on that, whether you want to follow me on that. So I'll get off my soapbox now, and we'll go into listener feedback. And this is all these comments, almost every comment last week was in response to me asking you guys, what are you doing while listening to Missing Pieces? And I was fascinated to find out what everybody's multitasking on here. And I'm just going to read down through these if you guys don't mind. First one comes from Padawan Bricks, who says, when I listen to these, I write. My grandma really enjoys my writing, so I write her stories, and I really like writing them, which I thought was great. Builder Bud says, while I'm watching today, I'm parting out 5 copies of the Monster Book of Monsters to add to my Bricklink store. Go buy from his Bricklink store, guys. Next one is from Metro Phase. It says, when I listen to these podcasts, I mainly do schoolwork or either build Lego. JP says, while watching this episode, I'm currently cleaning my room. Proud of you, dude. Luca's World says, when I listen to these podcasts, I play Lego sets or make a mock. Great content. Gold Puffin says, when I listen to these, I'm usually building Lego mocks or 10 or 20 pieces in preparation for my next upload. Go check out his channel. He's a great guy. Messaged me on Instagram about going full-time on the YouTubes. And I was like, do it, man. Let's do it. Builders, my buddy, says, I listen to these podcasts while doing cardio on Sundays. A great distraction while putting in some miles. There you go. There's still some time left of this podcast. Take your phone. Maybe actually download this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Find out where you left off at, and then just go walk around your house or your block or walk down the street right now. We might have some time for you to get like a half mile in or something like that, especially if you walk fast. Next one comes from Colin. He says, when I'm watching these, I'm doing work or playing solo game that's calm. Playing some Minecraft. Listen to the podcast. Janelle says, I listen to these every week. It's my calm time. I love to hear what you and Clark are up to. That's nice. Miguel says, I normally watch these at work on Mondays. It makes the time fly by a little. I'm a day early. Next one comes from Carter. He says, I love to listen while getting ready for work. Hay says, I'm riding my bike or just relaxing while I listen to the podcast. And Golden Light says, I'm working on the computer while listening to the podcast. I make my own videos as a hobby. Ooh, okay. Next one comes from Tucker. He says, usually while watching, I'm playing a single-player video game. And Brickfru, hopefully I said that right. He says, listening to this podcast as I work on my Lego blog. Nicholas says, I either get orders ready or part out sets while I listen. I enjoy hearing what is going on in your life while I listen. It's hard to find genuine people on YouTube. Missing Pieces is my favorite video you make in a week. So a podcast of you and Clark riding home would be awesome. He's talking about my idea to do a podcast called The Ride Home, where Clark and I just talk about our days from the car. And it's like a time that we have, and I could set up microphones and cameras and stuff, and it would be like, I think it'd be great. So who doesn't need an extra podcast in their life? Anne says, hi, Greg. I love your videos, and when I listen to Missing Pieces, I build Lego or sometimes simply just relax and look forward to Missing Pieces every Sunday. I'm excited what the future brings for the brickitect and the brickitect community. You're my favorite YouTuber. I guess what I'm trying to say is keep up the great work and keep encouraging people like me. That's my plan. I wish I could encourage people. Wish I could do that. That would make me really happy to know that I'm not going to get emotional. To know that you can have an impact on somebody in a positive way, I think is probably the most powerful thing about sharing anything on YouTube, and especially sharing something like that's personal to you or maybe a struggle of yours, I think is awesome. So that makes me very happy. Next one comes from Red Desert Rose, who says, Aussie Mom here, and it's Monday morning when I listen. I listen while I get the housework done. Makes it much less tedious. Thanks. Rexy Viewer says, I listen to these podcasts. I either chill or play video games or work on my endeavors in organizing. Oh, if you get done, come on over. I got some things for you to do. Last but not least, we got Darren, who says, it's funny. I usually listen to these while I'm playing Minecraft. It was much needed this week. I started to work on doing some sim racing this week, but the setbacks reared its head. It makes it too easy to quit. Thanks for helping me feel inspired every week to keep chasing my dreams and reminding me that they aren't impossible. I'm not going to get emotional, but geez. Thank you guys for the feedback. I appreciate all that. I love hearing what you guys are doing. And the one thing that I've learned a couple things through reading these. A lot of people listen to these podcasts just to get through something they don't really want to do, whether it be working out or cleaning or getting ready for work or working. And I love the fact that these are encouraging, like I said earlier. Like those two things, it's like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this, I think. I think I'm going to make episode 78 next week. Next one comes from the Brick Patch, and I thought this was a really great comment that I would love to share here if you don't mind. He says, hey, Greg, great episode, per usual. I listen to these when I'm playing video games usually, but this week I was setting up shots for some Lego photography. I never really bothered with Lego reviewers, but recently I've noticed that so many people do Lego set reviews, and now I see what you mean. I think that a Lego review is so restrictive, and I think that instead I'd rather do a video on telling the story and how I got the set. Welcome to brickitect. I recently was able to get the 2013 Lego Iron Man Malibu Mansion for only €30. It was, maybe that's pounds. I'm getting bad at that now that I don't do live streams quite as much anymore. I was opened and secondhand, so I washed it and rebuilt it. And when I got home, it film the entire process. I love that. I thought it'd be interesting, but as I was building the set, I noticed that the seller included the wrong Iron Man, and Pepper Minifig had her eye scratched off. While I was disappointed at the time, I now realize that this is an opportunity to add something interesting to the video, since the seller said he had spares and if I had a problem. In my opinion, seeing the journey on how I got the set would be a lot more interesting than me talking about the set for 10 minutes, which is something that many people have already done. Getting the set for so cheap was my win of the week, but having the opportunity to make an interesting video on it makes it better. And I love this because you've realized something that I've been talking about for a while. It's one thing sitting down and sharing something as a product, but it's another thing taking someone through your journey with that. The fact that you made a story out of this where you got it cheap and you went through the process of getting it, cleaning it, you have a setback. That's what makes movies great. It's not just like, boom, here it is. It's like, oh man, this is going good. Oh no, it's going bad. How's it going to go good again? Oh, it's going good again. And then you have your conclusion. I love the story. And as I mentioned before, I'd like to get better at storytelling. And I think you're on that path. And I would much rather watch your video, as however unprofessional it may be, than watch someone sit down for 15 minutes and tell me every little thing about the set and which elements what and when it came out and how many pieces it is. I want to see the minifigs with the scratched off eye and how you resolve that. That's what I want to watch. So I encourage you, if I can encourage you, this is the time. Keep doing that, because that to me is way more engaging. It's going to be a smaller audience, but in you reviewing a set from 2013, you're probably not going to have much of an audience in any way, because everyone wants the newest stuff. But if you can build your channel around your story, like I attempt to do, I'm not saying I do it well, but I try to do something more than just say, this is a set. I'd rather say, this is the set, but this is our experience, just like I was talking about earlier. And it sounds like you're doing that, so I'm proud of you for that. This next one here, we got some Advice-itect regarding some Lego. It's from Bob's Builds. It says, hey Greg, I need some advice here. Today I filmed a video and it took me about 4 hours to film it and edit it. Then when I posted it, no one watched it. It got like 3 views or something. I wasted so much time filming for just a few views. Thinking of quitting. I just need you to tell me why not. Thanks, from your friend in need, Robert. You know, I never tell people to quit anything unless it's something that you're not enjoying, like I did earlier. And that's what this comes down to. When you made that video, Robert, were you doing it because you really were passionate about making the video and the thing you were showing, or whatever you made? Was that what you were trying to do, or was your goal to put it online and get views? Because if your goal was to put it online and get views, and now you are at the point where you're saying that you're thinking about quitting just because it didn't get views, I'm going to tell you that you should probably quit. And you're probably not expecting that, but if that's what you're going for, and if you're not passionate about this enough that you can't put a video out and be okay with it only getting a few views, there's no reason for you to continue, because this isn't going to be something that you're able to sustain. When I made videos, I remember being in a spot where I would put out videos, and this is probably a year or two into when I started making vlogs on my main channel, or Greg's World. I was like, man, if that video doesn't get 100 views, I think I'm just going to take it down. Like, no one wants to watch that. But I didn't do that, and I'm thankful I didn't. But just to show you where it can go, like 100 views now, that happens in like the first couple minutes the video's out, right? But that was because I was passionate about video making and sharing my story, and I loved editing, and I loved cameras, and I loved audio, and I loved like the source material, and I loved documenting it and having a video time capsule. I didn't hear you mention any of that in yours. You said, I posted a video that took me a long time to make. No one watched it, and I'm thinking about quitting. If that's as far as video making goes for you, and this goes for anyone, just stop making videos, because this isn't for you. You're not going to last. And there's lots of people that try to fake it and be like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this, and they get burnt out, and then their channel becomes a dead channel. There's way more dead Lego channels than there are ones that people post on regularly. And it's because if you don't have the drive and the ambition and want to do all aspects of this, you're never going to make it. But if you like to just I'm talking about doing this like professionally or building an audience, but if you just want to make a video here and there and put it out, that's fine. But don't focus on the views. Focus on doing something you love to do. And if you love to do this, you wouldn't be asking this question. So I'm going to give you the advice to stop, just to give up on it. Next one here. And that feels weird. I usually encourage more people to start Lego channels than stop, but when I get a message like that, it doesn't seem like this is something that's for you. Next one here. This is kind of unrelated. This kind of goes back to gaming. This is from Jinxie. Says, Greg, you had mentioned something about maybe getting an arcade for your basement. I purchased a few units from Arcade 1-Up for the man cave in the basement. Awesome company, by the way. My kids love using them. Since I got 3 kids, I purchased the 4-player X-Men cabinet as well as the 4-player TMNT to play it with all of them at the same time. Great times playing with the family. Even my wife plays from time to time with the kids. It's funny you mention this because I have something on the floor over here that I'll show you that I got. It is at Games. It's not fully committed, and I know if you're listening to this, you can't see it, but this is the Legends Gamer Pro, which is kind of a 2-player setup. It's not a full stand-up arcade unit, but you can play 2 players in this, and it has 150 games preloaded on it that Clark and I were having a blast with. But it's to describe this for people that are listening, and I need to get better at this. It's a rectangle of 2 joysticks, and it also has 8 buttons for each of those joysticks and a trackball in the middle where you can play all kinds of fun games. We'll give you some sounds here for the listeners out there. Some brickitect ASMR. There's the buttons. And I bought this for $99 maybe like a week and a half ago. I may have talked about this already. I make so many different videos. Bought this for $99 from Walmart on rollback, typically $229. And you just plug it into your TV, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. I would love to get one of those stand-up units. I have the space for it, I think. I just don't want to fully commit to just one game, though. Like, the TMNT one would be the one that I'd really like. But I think you can bring your own games to this, and I could put TMNT on that and hook it up to any TV, including a 65-inch TV that I have literally just around the corner over there, which would be amazing. So I love what you're doing, and I might do that because I like the experience of having, like, a stand-up unit and, like, the lights and all that stuff on it. And I've watched tons of videos on these because it's something that, like, I live off of nostalgia, and going to the arcade as a kid is something that I loved, and unfortunately Clark can't quite have that experience. So if we can replicate it here at home with that, I'm totally on board. So that Turtles one is really tempting to me. I remember the X-Men game from the arcade too. If they could make one, and I think they may, I think there's a stand-up version of this where everything is on one unit and you could switch between games on that. I think I would probably be inclined to get that. But they're really cool. If you guys haven't seen them, look up at Games, and I think that's. Oh, I'm sorry. They're Arcade 1-Up. This is an at Games. Arcade 1-Up makes all of the stand-up ones. Look that up, especially the Turtles one. If you're an old dude like me, it's pretty darn cool. We're gonna finish this off with a win of the week. There weren't too many wins. I'd love to hear your guys' wins if you have them. This is from Nick the Lego Brick. He says, my win is making a YouTube video. It's been 4 months since my last one, and I hadn't felt like making a video since yesterday. I want to start to commit to 1 video a week to build my channel. Take it easy, Greg. And there you go. There's somebody. You don't have to do it regularly if you don't want to. You can make a video once every 4 months if you want to. Just have fun. This isn't your job yet, but it might be someday if you really go in on it. And you're not going to know if you're going to love it or not until you try it. And if you try it and you don't love it, there's no harm in that. And maybe that's our lesson this week. And a lesson from, I guess, a video that I made yesterday, and that's, if you're not having fun with something, if you don't love it, if you're not having a blast, you don't have to stay committed to it. You can bail on stuff, and you don't have to be upset about that. You don't need someone to tell you to keep going when you don't want to. That being said, though, if you're trying to do something that's hard and you're quitting just because it's hard, that's not a reason to quit. It comes down to enjoyment. And some things you're not going to enjoy but are necessary. Like, say you want to have a 98 pack by June. You're not going to want to go on the treadmill. You're not going to want to lift weights. You're not going to want to do that stuff. And using my advice, maybe in that case, you'd be like, oh, Greg said if I'm not enjoying it, I should quit. But in that case, if you know it's for the better good of yourself or someone else, sometimes it's good to push through. But if it's just something casual, like watching a movie or building a Lego set or making YouTube videos, it's very easy to make that decision. It's a yes or no. That being said, if you're really striving towards something and you want to get there, put in the work to do it. That's what I've lived by, and I know the harder I work, the more successful I'm going to be in most cases regarding anything. And if I put my mind on something and I track something, that gets managed, right? Like, you put your mind and your focus on any given thing. If you really believe in that thing, you're going to be successful. And that's where I'm at on YouTube. That's where I'm going to be with my weight thing and like getting in shape. And you're going to see it happen because that's what my focus is. And I'm an obsessive person. And in some cases, when you're trying to do something big like this, or if you're trying to do something that you're really excited about that's like good for you or good for whoever, it can have some amazing consequences. It can also have some very negative consequences when you're like, I'm not eating it all today because I'm going to get shredded. Balance. It's what we all struggle with, I think, at least myself, and that's what I share with you every week. Speaking of sharing things, I hope you enjoyed this episode of me sharing my life, Lego, and anything else that's been on my mind. I had a lot of fun doing this with you. I pray that the audio is okay right now. I pray that YouTube doesn't put 55 ads on this video, and hopefully this week I don't get any copyright strikes and you guys don't get angry with me for clickbaiting you on a potentially clickbaity video, but I'm having fun. I'm having a good time, and I'm excited. I'm so excited for the future of this channel and where this is going to be going from here until eternity. And I hope you are too. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And as always, we'll find you on the next Missing Pieces.